Well, hello, everybody. Today, I want to talk about Cain and Abel. And there are really only two kinds of people in this world. And the Bible tells us the story about Cain and Abel and how somehow, we don't know how, but somehow God communicated to Adam and Eve, and therefore Cain and Abel, how he wanted to be approached in worship. He communicated to them that the best way to worship him was through the sacrifice of an animal, by giving the best of the fat of that animal and burning it before the Lord. And this is what Abel did, and the Bible tells us that Cain chose a different way. Cain instead tried to give him the fruits of his labor. Cain was a farmer, and he instead sacrificed the fruit of the ground that he grew through his own labor, through his own efforts. This was through his own decision on how he was going to approach God, and God was not pleased with his offering. Now, we can go into a long discourse about why the fruits of the ground were not acceptable, but the fruits of the flock were. But that's not really the point here. The point is that Abel chose to obey God, while Cain chose to choose his own route. And this is really the difference between faith and religion. If we study the Bible, if we have a relationship with Christ, if we choose to follow him, regardless of our own will, regardless of our own thoughts, regardless of our own desires, if we put those aside and say, Lord, I want to know what you want. I want to follow you. I want to obey you. Show me, help me to walk in the path that pleases you, rather than choosing our own course, choosing our own religion, choosing our own way of worshiping God, then we will have faith. Otherwise, we're really just stuck in religion. And we talked in the last message about the AI race and how the countries of the world are literally locked in a race towards supremacy, towards achieving a super intelligence that they think is going to bring them the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil. And they think that this fruit of the knowledge of good and evil is going to bring them the fruit of the tree of life. But the Bible tells us that these are two completely separate trees. It's just like the faith versus religion dichotomy. It comes right back down to the difference between Cain and Abel. There is one name under heaven by which we must be saved. There is one way to the Father, and it is not through the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. We learned that from the story of Adam and Eve. It is not through religion. We learned that through the story of Cain and Abel. And we learned what God will do to those who try to build another Tower of Babel. So today there are only two kingdoms, light and darkness. There are only two destinations, heaven and hell. And there are only two identities. We can choose to identify with Christ, or we can choose to identify with the rebellion. There's no middle ground, and there are no neutral countries in this war. The Bible tells us that the enemy comes to kill, steal, and destroy. Well, I'm here to tell you that the enemy is coming for you. The enemy is coming for your children and for your loved ones. And the best way for him to do that, the easiest way for him to do that, is to lull you into a false sense of security, a false sense of peace. And we talked about this as well, that rider on the white horse is really a deception. It's a false sense of security. It's a false sense of peace. And then it is immediately followed by the rider on the red horse, which is terrible, horrible bloodshed and war and devastation. The enemy is trying to set you up so that he can come and kill and steal and destroy you and your children and your family. Sadly, what most people don't realize is that they're eating from the wrong tree, and it is bringing them to the wrong destination. One tree brings eternal life. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil brings only eternal death. So, brothers and sisters, it seems that humanity is destined to build the Tower of Babel all over again. And sadly, what most don't realize is that the ending is destruction. Proverbs 14:12 tells us that there is a way that seems right unto a man, but the end thereof is death. And in Deuteronomy chapter 30, God has set before us life and death. And he tells us, choose life. Look, I'm telling you, choose life. Don't make the mistake that Adam and Eve made. Don't make the mistake that Cain made. Don't make the mistake of building another Tower of Babel. I've set before you life and death. Choose life. Choose life, because there is a way that seems right to you. But this is not the way that leads to life. It is the way that leads to death. I am the way. Jesus is telling us, I am the way. Jesus is the way. Not our own will, not our own way, not our own religious beliefs, not our own doctrines. Jesus is the way. We have to find our salvation in him. We have to claim our salvation through him. And that is the only way. So brothers and sisters, that's the good word for today. God bless you. I'll see you in the next video.
In the beginning was the Word.